Okay, good morning, one and all. And here we are today. I'm Professor Urmi Chakravorty. I'm from Complementary School of Management, Bangalore. I'm the 100 ambassador for education and social creativity. With me is Professor JP Tiwari today. JP, would you like to say hi? He is he's a professor in marketing with the Kripanidhi Group of Institution. He's also a TA practitioner. And what exactly is TA? How it is useful in education? We would like to speak a lot about how it is effective in education, and as we've mentioned, a path to better education and understanding. So we would like to see all the questions on the comment box. As the questions comes, we can continue answering them. Before that, we would like Professor Tiwari to give you a better understanding what TA means and stands for, and then maybe we can start with the entire concept of TA as a tool in education. Yes, Tiwari.
Thank you, Urmi. Good morning, everybody. Okay. So let me talk a little bit about our institution. Kripanidhi Group of Institutions is a 35-year-old institution. We have various verticals, right from management to physiotherapy to nursing to graduation to a school, which is a school which is aimed at creating entrepreneurs. We believe in transaction analysis as the main tool in managing education in our institution. Each of our mentors in our college have necessarily to have 10 students who would be their mentees and who would be their lifetime mentees, who would be tutored, who would be trained, who will be counseled through and through their education and post-education also if required. And it was very coincidental that 100 seems to be having the month for bettering education and helping educators too. I would request those of you who are online to kindly keep asking me questions. I would want this to be more of an interactive session so that I could know what's running in your mind and I could answer your questions more easily and better, help you understand the concepts better. Now, I, as an academician and a counselor, am blessed is because I have a profession or multiple professions which deals with relationships. And these relationships, okay, okay, these relationships are relationships which we understand, which we are able to relate, and which we are into constantly day in and day out. Sadly, unfortunately, these this education system today has become not what it used to be earlier. Okay, earlier we thought of education as relationships, but today we want to measure scores. Scores as a factor of IQ, scores as a factor of their grades in the university, scores in terms of how they fared in sports. But are we looking at a score of how happy or unhappy a child is? Are we putting a score or a measure on how whether the child feels cared for, the child feels nurtured, respected, inspired, or safe at school or home? Sadly, no. That has gone, that has moved out from our system. It is important for us as academicians and educators that we focus on these elements. Once these elements are taken care of, learning can take place very, very easily. The child is secure in his thoughts, the child is secure in his mind, the child can fly. They can make mistakes, they can understand it's okay to make mistakes and learn from these mistakes. This is where the real learning begins. I would like to now ask you people, who was the most inspiring teacher in your life, or who was the most important teacher in your life? Do you recall that teacher? What made them different? How did they connect with you? Is anybody online who wants to share the thoughts on me with me as to who was the most inspiring teacher in their lives, or who had the most important impact on them in their lives? What made them different, and how did they connect with you? Okay. Now, since people seem to be yet
Slowly coming. Yeah.
slowly coming online,
Yes.
let me tell you, for me, it was my language teacher. My language teacher, because the way she connected with me, the way I felt when I was with her. I felt valued, inspired, special, intelligent, and important. I'd go that extra mile in doing better work, putting in hard work for the language teacher while compared to the other subject teachers. Other subjects, my efforts would be limited to the extent of keeping myself out of trouble. Whilst with my language teacher, it was always to excel. It's because she made me feel important. She made me feel valued. She made me feel special. She made me feel inspired and intelligent, which the other teachers could not do or could not touch upon that chord of mine, which is very, very critical. So, how does TA come into picture here? Okay. As educators and teachers, we are in a profession which is demanding, stressful, high pressure. We are constantly working rolling work schedules, and we often forget that we are human too, and we are not just our jobs. A classic example is, which I've encountered most often, is when we go to malls or hotels or pubs or movies. We find our students coming the next day and saying that we saw you at the movie. And most of my colleagues very apologetically tell, oh, I just went there for a change, or I just landed up there. Aren't we humans enough to be enjoying ourselves, de-stressing, having our day out at a restaurant, going out for a drink at the pub, or going out to watch a movie? We let classroom behaviors affect us. We feel stressed when we are observed. We find it difficult to unwind when we go out for holidays, which we get after a lot of haggling with our bosses and are lambasted for asking those holidays. We are not enjoying ourselves is because we're thinking of the workload that is going to be piled up once we return, the amount of activities that need to be undertaken, the assessments, the question papers, the answer scripts, the presentations, the attendance issues, the health issues, the mentoring issues. The list is on and on and on. And this is where transaction analysis helps us, teachers, in understanding ourselves at a social level within the classroom and with the students and with ourselves. It'll give teachers a roadmap on working and storing their experiences. Now, since transaction analysis is a very, very vast field, and there are so many criteria that one needs to look at, and with the paucity of time that we have for this webinar, I would be looking at 4 fundamental attributes of transaction analysis, which is critical for a teacher to make lives for themselves better and make it better for the students too. So we'll be looking at ego states. Ego states are where, at that point of your mind from where a student thinks, feels, and behaves in the classroom and chooses to respond rather than react. Then we get into transaction analysis proper, where we can understand from which ego state are students talking to each other, or talking to teachers, or talking to their parents, or to their siblings, which will tell us how to manage irate students, how to placate them, and cut out the unproductive conversations and make their points clear during the classroom sessions. Third, we will be looking at strokes, which is the most important element for any individual or any human being. Because if strokes aren't there, strokes are a currency of recognition. If we do not get a currency of recognition, neither you nor I would be motivated enough to be doing what we would love to do normally. And then, as humans, we all play games. There are several games like Do Me Something, Wooden Leg, Now I Got You, Son of a Bitch, okay, If But. so what, so on and so forth, which we start playing them right from our childhood, and students do play them as a daily activity. Now, we will look at these four ego states, transaction analysis in a proper manner, strokes in the games, briefly to understand how this can help us to move ahead in life. Now, let's look at the insights that one can get. When we're going to look at the insights of which one is going to get through transaction analysis, one should understand that transaction analysis is basically contractual in nature.
Sorry to interrupt. Before we go ahead, I see the number of viewers going up, and we have a few questions. So there's somebody who has asked, how can teachers use TA in their classrooms and daily life? So
Okay.
we will be answering all the
Yes,
questions
thank you
one by
so much
one.
for the question. I'll be coming to that. We'll have to first understand the concepts, which will be the ego states, which will be transaction analysis proper, then it'll be strokes, then it'll be games. So as we keep progressing along this, I will be helping you people understand how you could use your transaction analysis in your classrooms, and not only in your classrooms, in your daily lives too.
And keep on asking the
Yeah,
questions.
please keep pouring the
Yes,
questions in,
yes,
because that
yes.
would help me understand what you would like to get out of this webinar, and what would be your takeaways from this webinar.
Yes. Also, because we have a standard the timings are different, and we have a worldwide audience who can view the video once they are up. I understand the timings, the time zones different, so we would still really appreciate if you keep on pouring the comments, and you can get into get in touch with us through the comment box, and we can revert back and acknowledge all the questions you have. So Tiwari sir can just go ahead and complete the strokes which he was talking about.
So when we talk about transaction analysis, it's basically it's contractual in nature. A contract wherein an adult consents to change feelings, behavior, or psychosomatic problems by commitment to himself and or someone else. Transaction analysis is to help you become better mentally, psychologically. So, for which we'll start looking at the various modes of the ego stage. Eric Berne, who propounded transaction analysis, has classified the ego states as parent, adult, and child. A parent is a parent in the literal sense of the word, but parents can be of two types. One, a parent who is nurturing, and one, a parent who is critical. And it all depends on their upbringing, their ecosystems, their dynamics of lives through which they have grown up, and through which they have become adults, or they become parents themselves. Now, the nurturing parent is one who always says, okay, you have an issue, let me help you understand the issue. He extends a helping hand. He's willing to be supportive, who is always encouraging. Whereas a critical parent is somebody who is critical by nature, who is judgmental, who doesn't appreciate what the child or the person is doing. So all of us could have a nurturing parent and a critical parent within us, depending on how we have molded ourselves over a period of time. We would either have a predominantly nurturing parent in us, or we would have a critical parent within us. An adult is something in our ego state which looks at things objectively, okay, where it looks at as is where is condition. It does not look at the past, it does not look at the future, it looks at the facts and figures present at the moment, and objectively take a decision without any bias. A child is the spirit of freedom which there exists in all of us. There could be two types of children. One is a free child and the adaptive child. The adaptive child is a consequence of the critical parent who always says, this is right and that is wrong. You should be doing this, you shouldn't be doing that, and they sit in judgment. So an adaptive child generally seeks validation for whatever he does. So you could say, I've done my job, please appreciate me. Whereas a free child is an output of a nurturing parent who says, be what you are, do what you want, I'm there to help you, I'll encourage you. So the free child is one who's very enthusiastic, who is very free, who is excited for every activity that he or she does. Now, the when you look at the functional ego states at a deeper level, okay, you could have a negative controlling parent and you could have a positive controlling parent mode. Now, negative controlling parent is somebody who is always critical and judgmental. A positive controlling parent could be somebody who will say, do not do drugs, because if you have to do drugs, this could be the negative repercussions of doing drugs. A positive nurturing parent is somebody who encourages, motivates, and supports. A negative nurturing parent is somebody who pampers and spoils the child. Okay? So when you're looking at the functional ego state at a deeper level for an adult, it is like an accounting mode. I am moving in the traffic. I meet with an accident. I look at the situation very dispassionately. Yes, an accident has happened. I need to move my car away to a zone which is not going to impact every other commuter's traveling. I have to call up the police, register a complaint, and not take any action from my end. So what I'm doing there is I'm being very dispassionate, I'm being very objective, I'm not being biased. Now, in the free child, you'll have a positive free child mode and a negative free child mode, and a positive adapted child mode and a negative adapted child mode. Now, a negative adapted child mode is a child who does things just to gain your attention. He could break something, he may not do his homework, he may not respect others because he wants you to give him attention. A positive adapted child would say, ma'am, I've done my homework, please appreciate me. Or dad, I've completed my assignment. Dad, I had my breakfast. And they want validation. A positive free child mode is somebody who uses enthusiasm for all the right purposes, whereas a negative free child uses enthusiasm for negative activities. It could be disturbing somebody just for the fun of it, troubling somebody just for the fun of it. So now let's look at a little, you know, detailed way how the adult and the inner child is. Now, when you're looking at a nurturing parent is normally affectionate, is considerate, forgiving, generous, gentle, helpful, kind, praising, sympathetic, tolerant, understanding, unselfish, and warm. While a controlling parent could be autocratic, bossy, demanding, dominant, fault finding, forceful, intolerant, nagging, opinionated, prejudiced, rigid, severe, and stern. An adult is somebody who's alert, who's capable, who's clear headed, who's efficient, who's fair minded, logical, methodical, organized, precise, rational, realistic, reasonable, and unemotional. When I say unemotional, it means unbiased. An inner child who's free would be adventurous, would be
And I
affectionate.
see one more question coming here.
Yes,
Somebody has asked, can one have all of these ego states at a go?
yes. One, that's a brilliant question. I'm glad somebody's raised this up. We can have these three ego states. Now, these three ego states are dynamic in nature. We can permit ourselves into letting one of the ego states play a predominant role. You cannot be absent of these three ego states. The three ego states are existent within us. So you could be a nurturing parent with an adult, okay, and be a free child, which would be a brilliant combination. Okay, now this combination would make you a very affectionate person, clear-headed, and enthusiastic and energetic. That is, I was talking about a nurturing parent, an adult, and a free child. So it is not that you cannot have all the three of them. You do have all the three ego states in your mind at any given point of time. It is how you let that ego state, how do you respond to a situation and not react to a situation. But I'm sure we all understand the difference between reaction and response. Reaction is when you act without thinking. A response is when you understand, analyze, evaluate, and then act. That's a response. So you can have all the three ego states within you and have your response mechanism operating accordingly. Okay, thanks for the question. I want the questions to keep pouring in. So now let's look at what is the parent ego stage. Now the parent ego state means that values, attitudes, and behaviors of parents form an integral part of a personality of an individual. We normally are influenced very heavily by our parents. We tend to take that. So if we have a nurturing parent or we have a critical parent, that gets embedded in our unconscious mind, and we start showing this um, uh, ego state with ourselves and with people around us. Okay. Now, a person with a negative parent ego state is normally judgmental, is normally a rule maker. He is always moralizing, he's overprotective, and he thinks he's indispensable.
There's one more question which says that how do you deal with arrogant kids in the classroom?
Okay. Now, first and foremost, you need to understand, where does the arrogance stem from? Is it because they are given importance, too much of importance, or is it because they're feeling neglected? Now, there are two ways of gaining attention that people always have. They could cry for attention and seek attention, or do something wrong because of which they get attention. Now, this is something that we're going to come to at the latter part, which is called as strokes, the third part of our discussion that we're going to have today, which is strokes. These are people who lack strokes, either at home or in school or amongst that peer group. They lack strokes. Like I told you, a stroke is a unit of recognition. Like when I say, you are a good child, I am giving a positive stroke. I'm giving a token of appreciation. It's a unit of recognition. Now, these arrogant children could be people who lack those strokes. And when they don't get strokes, they take negative strokes, and that is why they behave arrogantly, so that, you know, at least people acknowledge their presence, people acknowledge their thoughts, or people know that they are around. Like Eric Burns says, a negative stroke is better than no stroke at all. And these kids are working towards getting these negative strokes because they have a loss in the economy of strokes. Now, when you talk of strokes economy, we all need certain amount of strokes. Now, these children aren't getting a sufficient amount of strokes that they require. It could be at home, it could be at friends, it could be at school, it could be anywhere. And because of which they turn out to be arrogant, because they say, okay, if not anything, let me at least get blasted, at least let me get recognized, let me get noticed. That is their idea behind that. Okay? So now let's move on to the adult ego stage. The adult ego stage is something where the person gathers relevant information, carefully analyzes information, generates alternatives, makes logical choices. Okay. Now the child ego stage is where, the child is creative. He's got his anxieties, also his depression, dependence. It is, or he's exuberant. All of this,
All of these are the part of which even a teacher can have.
Yes, everybody. You would me have the adult parent and child in you. They manifest at different times,
Okay.
depending on how you receive those strokes from
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Now, you could be a very excited free child when you get a positive stroke from your colleague.
Absolutely.
That you're looking nice today, or you did a fantastic job. Yeah. So you feel joyous, you feel happy, you feel, good about it. Yeah. So that's when the free child in you is coming out. Yes. But if you were to say, okay, that was a part of my job and I did my job well, then it's the adult that is playing a role in you.
Okay.
Okay. Or
so the same thing happens with the students.
Yes.
When it comes to education, maybe a student has failed in his exam.
Yes. Now, what's so important is not being a critical parent.
Okay.
Did I tell you if you don't study, you're going to fail? Didn't I tell you you're not focusing in the class? Didn't I tell you you're being irregular?
Okay.
That is not what has to be told.
Okay.
You need to deal with the student as an adult. Tell him, okay, you failed the exam. Now let's try and understand, why did you fail?
Okay.
Didn't you understand this concept? How could you have cleared this concept? Who could have helped you? How could you have structured your time? How do we go about doing this in the future?
So for a crux, like what I could understand is basically you're asking the teachers to channelize their energy in a positive way and maybe guide them in a much more better way than always backing them.
More than channelizing the energy in the right way, what I would say is understanding why is the child in that particular situation.
Okay. Yeah.
A child could be introverted because he could be coming from a family where the parents themselves could be introverted.
Yeah. All right.
Okay? Or it could be he could be coming from a family where there could be a history of violence, or there could be tensions in the house, or there could be unhappiness in the house.
Okay.
Now, because of which the child tends to get introverted. Now, you need to understand the circumstances, and based on those circumstances, deal with the individual student according to that. Now, because the child has come from that kind of a situation where he's not seen happiness, he's seen unpleasantness at home, he's seen violence, he's seen anger, he's seen fear, he's seen depression, anxiety at home, he tends to become introverted.
And then
he's become an adapted child. So you need to start making how to become creative, how to start finding happiness, how to be joyous at every small achievement. So what happens in these ego states is, when you're reducing one, the other ego state automatically gets up.
Rises up. Okay. All right.
But the ego states remain constant. One ego state will play a dominant position, the other ego state will play a submissive position. So as teachers, we need to understand from where are the students coming in, what are their backgrounds, what are their demographics, what kind of family structures do they come from, what kind, are they from single family, a single parent family, are they from a nuclear family, are they from a joint family, because all these factors play a role on how the ego states are developed.
Correct.
Okay, so now to enable a teacher to do this, they need to get into transactions.
Okay.
Now these transactions are of three types. One is the complementary transaction, one is the cross transaction, and the third is the ulterior transaction. Now, a complementary transaction is where you're speaking from your adult to the adult in the student. So you'll say, how are you? Okay, I'll ask you, how are you, Urmi? And your answer would be, I'm good. Okay, so that's an adult to adult conversation. Okay, now I could say, Urmi, should we be going for the movie? Okay, now you would answer from the parent state that, do we really need to go for that movie? It's not meant for children. So that is a critical parent answering the adult. I'm just asking a matter of fact question. Could we go for the movie?
So everything is connected to the type of thoughts you have and the type of states of ego which you have. Okay, all right. Yes.
So you can have adult to adult transactions.
Yes.
Now these are complementary. When it goes from adult to adult, or an adult to parent, an adult to child, parent to parent, parent to adult, parent to child, child parent, child adult, child child.
Okay.
These complementary transactions are where it is open for discussion and debate.
Okay.
These conversations, these transactions are not ending. Okay. So I can say, how are you? You will say, I'm fine. How's work going on? Good. Okay. Then how many classes do you have today? You could say 3 hours. Which are the sections that you're taking? Okay, how are you preparing for sessionals? Okay, so these are, when we're talking adult to adult, these conversations keep going on. Okay. Similarly, an adult to parent can also, the conversations can go on. Like we've had our own personal experiences with our own families and friends, okay, where we talk and the conversations keep going on. But then the next kind of, is one where there's a crossed transaction.
Okay.
Okay. Now I could say, Urmi, you have always been on time to college, and that's a very appreciable point.
Point. And it's a compliment.
It's
You
a
feel
compliment.
good about it.
Okay, but then Urmi could wonder, why is JP saying this?
Okay.
Okay, I mean,
Why is he giving me a compliment?
why is he giving me a compliment? I mean,
Absolutely.
I think he needs something from me.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's a crossed transaction because I gave you a compliment from an adult to an adult, but you took it from an adult to a critical parent.
So it's more of a giving and receiving.
Yes.
So it's a two-way thing.
Transactions
and
are
then
always two
happens.
ways.
Okay.
There's a sender, there's a receiver, what is sent, and how it is received.
Yeah. For example, it goes the same with the teachers and principals.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, the principal say we need to work extra hours.
Okay.
Now, because we have to finish the syllabus or we have the school annual day coming in. Now, if the teacher does not understand it in the adult ego mode, that yes, this is a fact.
Yes.
It is not that the teacher wants to, principal wants to overload us with work,
Yes.
and the teacher starts understanding it. Otherwise, that oh, she wants us to work extra hours. They are not being understanding.
Correct.
That's where it becomes a crossed transaction, and that leads to conflicts. A complementary transaction doesn't lead to conflicts, whereas a cross transaction leads to conflict. Okay. Then you could have an ulterior transaction. An ulterior transaction could be what we could be going there if we finish this work. Oh. So I am asking you to do that work with an ulterior motive. Okay. Yes. There's an ulterior motive of going there, but that is tagged along with you doing something. Okay. And if you do it, then the whole activity can be completed.
I still see people coming live, and I'm glad that the questions are pouring in. So please keep it going and continue to share your. Okay, hi. Sri Lata says hello. Hello, Sri Lata. Good morning.
Good morning, Sri Lata.
Good morning. I hope you can rewind and check the live video again. So we continue, JP.
Yeah, it is important for us to not get into cross or ulterior transactions because they are not mostly satisfactory. It's important for us to have transactions which are complementary, which goes from one ego state to the other same ego state in the other person. It should not go into different ego states.
Yes.
Okay. Now, since we're running a little out of time. Okay, I'll just give you certain examples. Okay, of complementary transactions. Okay, it could be kids are lazy these days. Okay, I'm saying that, and you, and they're all on drugs. Okay, so it's a parent to parent
Transaction.
Transaction which is parallel.
Okay.
Hi, how are you? You say, I'm fine, thank you. That's an adult to adult transaction.
Yes.
Okay. I really like you. And you say, I like you too. That's a child to child transaction. The child is free. A child is opening up and talking without any hesitation.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Where's the report?
Okay.
Okay. Oh, I've just made it. I'm coming. That's a parent to the child.
Yeah.
Because the parent has the authority, parent questions.
Yes.
Okay. Now, let's look at cross transaction. The husband reaches home and says, what's for dinner? Now, who looks out for, asks these questions? It's normally children who ask for such questions. Okay. And then the wife says, stop bothering me. Because the wife already has it. Yeah. Okay. The wife is, he wanted to have a adult to adult conversation. What's for dinner? Yeah. But what she thought is that this guy is asking me, what is it? Okay. He's, too much of a bothersome thing. Okay. So now coming to the most important part, which is the strokes. Like I told you, strokes is a unit of recognition. Strokes is something that we all look out for. Strokes is something that we crave for.
So stroke is not always a bad word which people are scared of.
Yeah, true. True. It's not a heart attack stroke.
Yeah.
Okay. It is a stroke is a unit of recognition. And in a conversation, like at the moment we both are indulging in a transaction, we're exchanging strokes. And the strokes could be either verbal or non-verbal. The nodding of your head, acknowledging that you understand what I'm speaking, is a stroke.
So also for the people who are watching the live at the webinar right now,
Yes,
there's a stroke.
yes.
When they're understanding, maybe they're continuing watching the video, as I can see.
They're getting a stroke from me in terms of information
and learning,
and hence they're responding to this.
Responding. Okay, all right.
Strokes are a unit of recognition, and we're all basically, there are 4 types of strokes.
Yeah.
Okay. That is, one is giving stroke.
Yeah.
You have done a good job. Okay. Haven't I completed my work on time?
Yes.
Asking stroke.
Okay.
Okay. Receiving, somebody says, you have arrived in life. Okay. You have to be able to receive strokes. Yeah. And then you need to self-stroke, which we don't do ourselves most of the time.
Yeah. And JP, how about people asking me, or the teachers who want to know that how can they give strokes to their students in their classroom, and how can it change their way of methodology of teaching, or it can help them understanding their students better, or having a relationship with them better, so that the students can do well. And parents also have this trust issue nowadays, that when we are sending our kids to school, maybe they do not reciprocate in the same way which parents are expecting to. Our parents are expecting them to do really well in life, but few students who are moreover, the right brain, left brain working, the people are more interested in crafts and they're not focused for their academics. So how do a teacher with TA as a tool identify that what the students need, want, and what they enjoy?
Come to the first part of the question. It is, as teachers, it's very important for us to give verbal strokes.
Okay.
Because students do not understand non-verbal strokes.
Okay.
Like, I have this habit, when a student messages me or does something for me or asks me a question, my response is very, very verbal. I use a lot of emoticons, I use a lot of emojis, which could be love in the eyes, it could be a hug, it could be a thumbs up. Okay. Because if I don't, and I verbalize that also, I say, good job done. And then I show these emoticons. If I don't, and I just give us just a normal smile, they would not understand.
Okay.
So first and foremost thing for a teacher to be successful or to be able to manage a student well, it's important that the teacher starts verbalizing
and
appreciating this and giving strokes in that manner.
Okay. All right.
The second most important thing is to always give them unconditional strokes. Okay. Don't tell them, I will give you a chocolate if you do this, or I will give you an A grade if you do this. Okay. Tell them, irrespective of what you do, you are special to me, you're precious, you're important, you are invaluable. These are words that need to be reinforced into the most intelligent and the most dull child, which we as teachers normally do not do. Okay. We are conditional in our approach. We say, if you do this, we'll do this. If you do that, we'll do that. If you're not going to complete your homework, you'll not be allowed to go and play outside. Okay. If you do not do your homework, we'll call for your parents.
So restricting them.
If you do not attend classes, we will not let you attend the examination. Okay. Okay. Now, you do not tell them, it's your choice. Okay. Whether you're going to study or not study, but yes, you are important, you're precious. The moment they start feeling that sense of importance, the sense of preciousness, the free child in them becomes active. And a free child, when free child starts becoming active, their willingness to accept something becomes okay. And they change automatically. Okay. I've seen this happening with several students of mine, where I gave them verbal, unconditional, positive strokes.
Okay.
Because what happens is, now you look at most parents, you go and say, Dad, I got a first, I got 80 or 100.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. They only say, okay.
Okay.
They don't say, good, you got 80 or 100.
Yeah.
Okay. They're not verbalizing their happiness. Yes. I'm happy that you've done it. I didn't do it myself. I didn't get this kind of scores.
Yes.
Okay. So that verbalization is not there. Yeah. And then they will say, oh, brilliant. I'm very happy that you got 80.
Yes.
I mean, that's a positivity that kind of give.
Yes.
And you're telling unconditionally that even at 80%, I'm happy.
Yeah.
You're not saying that I wish you had got 100.
Yeah.
Or had you studied a little more, you'd have got 100.
Yeah.
The moment you stop telling that, then you're being verbal, you're being positive, and you're being unconditional.
Yes.
And this is what teachers need to do with students. Okay? They need to have this very, very importantly within them. Okay? Now, since we're running short of time,
Yes,
okay,
I think we need to sum up because
I'll just talk about one game which most students play, okay, which is a pain for all teachers.
So this is as per your the experience which you have in your academics, and
Yes.
you have faced this a lot of
With
n
a lot
number of times.
Yes, n number of times with my clients, etc.
Yeah, because people who are all the teachers who are watching us would like to know that as a teacher, if you have faced the same thing, and what is your take on it, so that they have that takeaway from you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I tell student, I mean, a student comes and says, I've not been able to do the homework. I say, why? No, I slept early. I say, you could wake up early. So it's so cold in the morning. How do I wake up early? I don't feel like getting out of bed. So I say, why don't you do it during the breaks? So during the breaks, everybody's playing. What you're saying is right, sir. But during the breaks, everybody's playing. And hence I feel like playing.
Yes.
Okay, why don't you do it during the library hour? Sir, what you're saying is right. But library hour, I like to take a quick power nap. Now, what are these kids doing? They're saying yes to everything that you're saying. And yet they're saying, but I cannot do it.
Okay.
So they're playing a game called as yes, but. Whatever you say is right, but I cannot do it. Now, how do we break this jinx? Can anybody quickly in the next 30 seconds type out and tell me how do we break this game of how do we break this game of yes but?
Yes.
Now it's difficult for most people to say this, but it's important to tell the kid, I know you find it difficult to wake up in the night and do your homework. You find it difficult to wake up in the morning. You want to play during the sports period. You want to take a quick nap during your library period. Yet, doing the homework is necessary.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
You have to call the game off. If you don't, you'll keep giving them 100 methods of solving a problem. They'll say yes to it, and yet they'll say but. Yes, but, yes, but. So this is the most common game that students play.
Yeah,
you have to call the game
yeah,
off.
we have as you have asked, so we have a comment from Ruma. Maybe because the students are also overburdened.
Okay, now I do not think students are actually overburdened. It is that they do not know what we call as a concept of time structuring.
Yeah.
Okay, these days children have a lot of distractions in the form of mobile phone, in the form of internets, in the form of games, in the form of Netflix, Amazon Prime, so on and so forth, that they're not able to structure their time constructively.
Yeah.
Now, the next time I get an opportunity, I can do an entire 1 hour session on time structuring in transaction analysis, which would be of major help to people to help students help themselves and help teachers.
Teachers too, right?
Okay.
Right.
So we've run out of time.
Yes, I think we'll sum up with this. What I would like to say to our audience worldwide is thank you for having us. And we both look forward for the next web day and learning from the community. So 100, thank you for the wonderful initiative. As an ambassador, I'm very happy and proud that we could get in Professor Tiwari and his say on TA as a tool in education. And we hope you like the video, share with your folks, and please get in the comments pouring. So we would take care of the answers, and we will acknowledge the same. If you would like to connect with both of us, we both are on Facebook, Urmi Chakravorty and JP Tiwari. We are also available on LinkedIn, Instagram, so you can follow us and just give your valuable feedback. So thank you so much once again.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Urmi, for having me on the show.
Thank you.
Okay, God bless all.
Thank you. And looking forward for the next webinar.